I'm sure you've heard the phrase, don't sweat the small stuff. And by and large, that's a pretty good piece of advice. But every once in a while, a detail will come along, especially in the biz, where if you don't address it correctly, it can have a big impact on whether or not you succeed in getting seen for an audition or not. Okay? And in this case, it's how you go about putting your resume and your picture together for submission. Alright? So what I would like to do today is sort of show you the different variations that people have used in the past when submitting their picture and resume for an audition, and then eventually end up with what I feel is the correct way to put your picture and resume together, and then to tell you why it's so important to do it that way. Okay? So let's get started. So I wanted to start with the picture and resume separate to tell you a story about one of the first mistakes I ever made as a young actor. This is my wife's headshot and one of her theater resumes. So I was coming to an audition, and I went up to the monitor and I handed her my picture and my resume. And she looked at me as if I was crazy. She said, "These two have to go together. I need these two things together for the submission." I said, "Oh, okay." So I slapped them together. I grabbed a paper clip, stuck it in there, and said, "Here, there's my picture and there's my resume." She looked at me again like I was nuts. She said, "These have to be stapled together so they don't get lost." So she stapled it together for me and saved my neck. Well, a week or two goes by and I went to another audition. This time I had gotten smart. I used staples in the upper right hand and the upper left hand corners. And when I gave it to the monitor, she looked at me once again like I was nuts. She said, "Do you see this big flap along the bottom and along the right hand side here, or left hand side rather?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, it needs to be trimmed off." So she grabbed some scissors and she cut it. Now, of course, doing so, she also cut off part of my resume that I'd put on that piece of paper. I hadn't really thought about the fact that my headshot was 8 by 10 and the paper was 8.5 by 11. So I needed to figure out a way to put my resume on the back and be able to trim it and still make it look nice. How did I do that? Well, when you're formatting your resume, go into page setup and then change the margins to the following. The top needs to be 0.3, the left-hand side needs to be 0.3, the bottom is 1.0, and then the right-hand side here is 0.7. All right, now what you're doing is you're shifting the margins to move the resume to the left and up. And so when you print it out and you put it on a paper cutter and you cut it at 8 by 10, you're going to have a nice even margin around the entire resume, and it'll have a nice finish to it. Okay? Now, I said in this case that the monitor decided to staple the resume to my picture. But then I thought, oh, you know what? I think I'll get tricky about this. I'll glue it to the back. That way I'll know it'll stay on there for good, right? So here's an example of the resume, and as you can see, I've altered the margin, so there's a nice margin around the entire resume, but I've glued it on the back of the picture. Now, I thought this was pretty good, except for the fact that every once in a while the paper and the picture would separate over time, or it could get sticky if I was doing a lot of them in a hurry. There was also another big reason why this was not a good idea, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. So, gluing your resume to the back of your picture is really a no-go. Okay, it can get messy, and you can tear the resume can peel away from the photograph. Then you have people who think, "Hey, I got an idea. I'm going to print my resume on the back of the picture. I'm just going to run the photograph through the printer and save the paper, and that way, you know, I won't have to worry about my resume coming off from the back of the picture at all." Well, although that will save you some paper, there's a couple of drawbacks. The first one, in my opinion, is the fact that because of the paper, or the kind of paper that pictures are printed on these days, the ink has the possibility of smearing, right? Which is a big deal. I mean, I've printed this one out a while ago, a couple hours ago for this video, and I can still make it smear, as you can see. And that's not good, right? So my general advice is don't ever do that. Because also, if you were to incorporate, say, a photograph into the back for an anchoring image, and it got smeared, well, your whole image is now ruined, right? So in general, you should just stay away from printing your resume on the back side of your photograph. Okay. So finally, we get the correct version. This version, I've got the headshot here. Now on the back, it's been, the margins are correct. It's on a nice bright white piece of paper. And I've stapled it in the following configuration. There's 2 at the top and 1 at the center and the bottom. Now why is that important? Well, sometimes when you're in an audition and the director wants to make notes on your particular headshot, it's easy for them to then tear that staple and open it up, and then they can write on the back of your picture or on the back of the piece of paper, and then it's all together for them for later reference. Okay? But just having 1 staple there, it makes it easier to tear off and get to, as opposed to having 2 staples. All right? See, if I'd also glued my resume to the back of this picture, they wouldn't be able to do that. Now, before I get rid of this one, you've noticed I've been using a photograph as an example here that is vertical, right? And sometimes I get questions from people saying, well, what happens if you have a horizontal picture? Well, let me show you. This is an older headshot of mine. As you can see, it's horizontal. And the idea is, which way do you orient the resume on the back side? And the way I think of it is, think of this as a check, like a bank check. When you see the check this way and you're going to endorse it, you endorse it on the left-hand side when you turn it over and raise it up. So there it is, okay? Just look at it one more time. So there's that, and I've just spun it around, okay? So now the staples, go back again, are on the left-hand side, 1, 2, and then the third one's in the center on the right-hand side. Now let's look at the resume. I just wanted to show you what the paper is there for. This is a nice bright paper. So here you can see for whatever reason, I decided that I needed to tell them about my top secret clearance. I've used some colors for some movies I've done that correspond with some photos on the bottom. I think in this instance I was auditioning for a movie that was a period piece. It took place in like 1910 or something. So I wanted to show them what I looked like from that general era, and that's why I used 3 photographs. Now once again, had I printed this on the back of my resume, I would have run the risk of smearing those pictures. Because it's a nice bright white finish, the pictures can really pop. Okay? And one little last detail while I'm thinking of it. Anytime you incorporate a photograph on the back of your resume, make it nice and big. This is about 1.5 by 2. Alright? And then I've put a nice black border around it that'll help the image itself pop off the page. Okay? So this, in the end, to me, is the best way to do a horizontal version of your picture and your resume. So there you have it. The best way to put your resume and picture together is to print your resume out on nice bright white paper. So if you use any color or pictures on the back side, they'll pop and they'll really jump off the page for the viewer to see. And then you want to staple it with the 3 staples, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom in the center. And make sure that you alter the margins of your page setup so that when you're formatting your resume and you print it out, all you have to do is put it on your paper cutter and 2 chops, and suddenly it's 8 by 10. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to tell you about what happens to your picture and resume after you leave an audition. And it's important, and it goes right to the heart of why I say staple your resume to your picture. So let's say Shannon goes in to read for a play, and she leaves, and then they're having a conference, the director and the casting director. And the director says, okay, let's see Shannon at the callback. And oftentimes what happens is in the casting office, they have what they call the Wall of Fame, where they're going to start putting the pictures up of the actors who they're considering for certain roles up on that wall, so that the casting people and the director can, at a glance, see what those different actors look like, so they can see what the cast is they're assembling for that project. So what will happen is, if the director says, let's call Shannon back for the 2nd round, the casting director will then separate the 2. They'll take her picture and put it up on the Wall of Fame, and then they're going to take the resume and give it to their casting assistant because it's got her contact information on it, and that way they can call Shannon in for the next round of auditions. Thanks for stopping by.